Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Gulshan Kumar Bansal, Professor in Department of Pharmaceutical Sciences and Drug Research in Punjabi University, Patiala. Today we are going to discuss about a module Medical Nanobiotechnology and Nanoanalytics in Management of Cancer under paper Nanobiotechnology. The objectives of this module are to comprehend about the available and upcoming nanomaterial-based therapeutic strategies for treatment of different types of cancers. The problem of specifically targeting the cancer cells can be overcome by delivering the drugs with nanoparticles or by using the nanoparticles which are specifically targeted at the cancer cells. So, dear students, we know that cancer is a multifactorial disease. Multifactorial means it has numerous causes, it has numerous pathways by which it occurs, and it has numerous implications also, numerous indications also. Its treatment is very challenging because in addition to curing the cancer cell, we also need to take care of the additional problems associated with the cancer. For example, inflammation, pain, depression, or so on. Although various drugs or various therapies are available for the treatment of cancer, like chemotherapy is there, radiation therapy is there, surgery is there, but every type of therapy they have some problems associated with it, and those problems are due to non-specificity of the drugs or non-specificity of the surgery. So, nanobiotechnology has devised some compounds, some materials which can increase their specificity, which help in delivery of the drugs, and even which can help in the intraoperative surgery also. So, here we will be discussing about the different techniques or based on the nanobiotechnology which are helpful in the management of cancer. In the normal course of cell differentiation, a cell differentiate into other cells and they grow in a systematic way such that the older layer of cell is destroyed and the new cells are formed. This process prevents the over accumulation of cells. Under some special circumstances, maybe due to some external factors or maybe due to some genetic factors, the growth of cells become uncontrolled. So this leads to over accumulation of cells, and these cells though look like normal cells, but they lack certain physiological functions. So cancers are derived from single cells that divide and differentiate continually in an uncontrolled fashion, leading to formation of excess mass, and this excess mass is termed as tumor. So based upon the location of the tumor, there are different types of tumors, maybe breast tumor, maybe liver tumor, maybe brain tumor, maybe blood tumor, or so on. Now this cancer or tumor, it can be of two types. One is a benign cancer, another is a malignant cancer. Now benign cancers, in this case, the cells grow only locally and they do not spread by invasion or metastasis into the other parts of the body. So they remain localized in a particular organ and they are therefore not harmful. The malignant cancers, on the other hand, are quite dangerous because these malignant cells have the capacity to invade into the neighboring tissues. They can enter into the blood vessels and then metastasize into other parts of the body. So a cancer which is started at one point in a body, it spreads into the other parts of the body, and this is quite a dangerous situation. Now, there are various risk factors which are involved in the cancergenesis. No single factor can be pointed for initiation of the cancer or for the progression of cancer. These various factors include age, sex, radiations, chemotherapy, genetics, environmental or lifestyle factors, endocrine or metabolic factors, and medical complications. Nowadays, the cancers are even detected at the early stages of life, so age we cannot say is a very major factor. Sex, the cancers are detected in males as well as females, although the incidence of breast cancer is higher, so therefore we can say that the female are more prone to the cancers. Radiations, they cause the continuous exposure of a human body to radiations cause genetic changes, and these genetic changes lead to cancers. There are some chemotherapeutic agents which cause genetic changes. Again, they cause changes in the DNA, and therefore they also cause cancer. Environmental factors or lifestyle factors. Nowadays, we know that the lifestyles have all changed from the healthy to unhealthy one, the use of junk food or so on, the lack of exercise, the lack of physical activities, the lack of eating, you see, less oxidative foods. So these all lead to increased risk for the cancers. So what are the options available for the treatment of cancer? There are two types of treatments. One is a local treatment and there is a systemic treatment. Local treatment is when we specifically treat the cancer site, like in case of surgery or by incidenting radiations. In surgery, we remove the particular part which is affected by the cancer, and in radiation therapy, the affected part is incident with the specific radiations to kill the cancerous cells. In the systemic treatment, the drug are injected into the body, and that drug is distributed in the whole of the body, and then it reaches at the site of action to elicit its biological action. The drugs available or the materials available for systemic treatment of cancer are chemotherapeutic agents, monoclonal antibodies, and radioactive materials. The various chemotherapeutic agents available for the systemic treatment of cancer are alkylating agents, antimetabolite, anti-tumor antibiotics, plant alkaloids, other agents, hormonal agent, and immunotherapy. Now, vinca alkaloid are one of the earliest plant alkaloids which are used for chemotherapy of cancer. The latest one is the Taxol isolated from plant. Monoclonal antibodies are very specific for a particular cancer, and the radioactive material, they are also quite specific, but their side effects are quite high. Fine. The various side effects which are associated with the use of existing chemotherapeutic strategies for the treatment of cancer include cytotoxicity. Cytotoxicity means they do not kill only the cancer cells, they also kill the normal cells. Then the bone marrow suppression, then alopecia loss of hair, constipation, that is a major problem in the patients which are undergoing the cancer treatment with the drugs. Then mouth and throat sores, it is also very common, and peripheral neuropathy. Nanoparticles are extensively nowadays used in the treatment of cancer because they afford numerous advantages over the conventional treatments. Amongst this, the gold nanoparticles are emerging as a promising agent. These are beneficial in diagnosis of cancer due to their photophysical and optical properties. Unlike conventional treatments, the gold nanoparticles uses no toxic chemicals and radiations. They reduce the risk of unpleasant side effects also. These work on any soft tissue tumors such as a breast tumor, prostate tumor, brain tumor, skin tumor, cervix tumor, or so on. The nanoparticles are designed such that they convert the light into heat, and that heat blasts away the surrounding tumor cells. The gold nanoparticles are fabricated such that their plasmon resonance is turned into near infrared wavelengths, which allow them to absorb and convert light energy into heat energy, leading to hyperthermia in the surrounding media. It ultimately leads to killing of the cells, as shown in the figure here. In the first, on the extreme left, the cancer is first diagnosed as a red dot on the body. Then the targeted nanogold particles are injected into the body, and these nanoparticles homing onto the tumor, they get localized here, and then these nanoparticles are incident with a laser light because they get heated up, and that heat blasts away the cancer cells and leads to total recovery from the cancer. So here there is shown the difference between the traditional treatment and the nanotechnology assisted treatment of cancer. In traditional treatment of cancer with the drugs and cell toxins as shown on the left side, the drugs and toxins cannot differentiate between the cancerous cells and normal cells. So they cause death of cancer cells as well as some of the normal cells in the vicinity of the cancer cells. Moreover, if these drugs are not delivered at the specific site, they also kill other responsive cells in the body which are responsible for many of the side effects of these anti-cancer drugs. So as shown here on the left side, the drugs they act on the cancerous cells shown in green color, but they also kill not only the green color but also some of the healthy cells shown in the pink color. In nanotechnology assisted treatment, the drug loaded nanoparticles are functionalized with antibodies or proteins which are specific for the cancer cell proteins. Upon administration, these particles search for the target proteins, locate them, and bind with them and enter into the cells. Here, the nanoparticles are programmed to kill the cell through release of the anti-cancer drug or through other methods like irradiation. In this process, all normal cells, as shown in the figure on the right side, or smiling pink cells remain intact. So they cause minimum side effects. Frank Gu Research Group at the University of Waterloo have videographed the entire process of application of nanoparticles in cancer treatment, and they have made this video available on the net. So here that video is played for you so to have a thorough understanding of the application of nanoparticles in cancer treatment.
The objective of targeted cancer therapy is to deliver chemotherapeutics directly to the cancer tissues while minimizing undesirable toxicity to the rest of the body. Nanoparticle formulation begins with the solution of drug and polymer molecules in an organic solvent. The blue spheres represent an anti-cancer chemotherapeutic agent, while the white strands represent diblock copolymers, which are realistically more flexible than shown here. A diblock copolymer is composed of two joined polymer chains, a hydrophilic or water-loving block, shown in blue, and a hydrophobic or water-fearing block, shown in orange. Nanoparticle formation is accomplished via the dropwise addition of the organic solution to rapidly stirred water. The initially disordered copolymers rapidly self-assemble at the organic water interface of the nanodroplets, reorienting themselves so that the hydrophobic blocks are surrounded and stabilized by the hydrophilic blocks. This polymeric coating can be subsequently surface modified with various cancer-targeting ligands such as antibodies or small molecules. The nanoparticle solution can then be modified into a form to allow for intravenous administration. The nanoparticles are quickly distributed throughout the body by the circulatory system, with which they are also delivered to the site of the tumor. Times smaller than red blood cells, nanoparticles possess the unique ability to permeate through the leaky walls of tumor vasculature, which are formed during the process of tumor growth. Through this passive targeting technique, the nanoparticles can be concentrated within the tumor tissue. On the cancer cell surface membrane, the nanoparticles encounter surface receptor molecules, microscopic markers expressed on cancer cells, but not expressed by normal tissues. The nanoparticles targeting ligands bind specifically to these receptors, triggering a response also known as receptor-mediated endocytosis, which draws the nanoparticles into the cancer cell. This process enables thousands of nanoparticles to enter into each of the targeted cancer cells. Inside the cell, the nanoparticles are enveloped in endosomes. These endosomes merge to form larger endosomes, or eventually lysosomes, the digestive stomachs of cells. Anti-cancer drugs can be released in a controlled manner by the degradation of the polymer nanoparticle shell. The highly toxic chemotherapy can thus be delivered directly at the site of intended action, without affecting other body systems. Typically, the drugs will cause the cancer cells to undergo apoptosis, or programmed cell death. This nanoparticle therapy can eventually lead to the eradication of the tumor mass.
Mesoporous silica nanoparticles. They have received significant attention as drug nanocarriers in cancer therapy due to their unique properties, including their high chemical stability, controllable pore size, large surface area, and superb drug load ability. Furthermore, silica is generally viewed as safe for use in biomedical application by the United States Food and Drug Administration, and its biocompatibility has been demonstrated. In the image here, as shown, how arginine glycine aspartic acid conjugated mesoporous silica nanoparticle highly loaded with indocyanine green dye accurately delineates liver cancer margins and provides excellent tumor to normal tissue contrast intraoperatively for complete removal of the cancer cell. Now for this, Zhang et al. Have conducted this study on the highly sensitive detection of satellite tumor nodules. In the figure A, it is shown that the implanted liver tumor tissue in the rat exhibits obvious contrast in color and texture with the normal tissues, as shown in a light red color tissue. The B image shows the same tissue is treated with the nanoparticles, and that tumorous tissues are viewed as a green fluorescent tissue. In addition to that bulky tissue, small nodules of cancers are seen as marked by the yellow arrow on the picture. The major tissue is resected as shown in picture C, which is now the cancerous tissue is not visible in C. Any residual cancer is not visible in C, but when the same was treated with nanoparticles, some of the residual cells are visible as shown in figure D. So this facilitates to visualize the residual cancer cells which may be left after the initial resection of the tissues, cancerous tissues. So in the figure E, we can say, or F, even there are some tissues which are remained after the progressive surgeries, and in this way the complete surgery of the tumor cells can be achieved with the help of nanoparticles. The key features of quantum dots that make them appealing for use in such constructs, means the nanoconstructs, are that they exhibit the enhanced permeability and retention effects because of their increased size and magnetic properties. They can be used to image to depth in mammalian tissues, and their broad absorption and size tunable emission spectrum offer a wide selection of possible excitation and emission wavelengths for improved imaging. Now, quantum dots, due to their versatile properties, are used in almost all areas of medical science because of their multifunctional design. They are photodynamic therapy, they are used in the molecular target identification, they are used in the personalized medicines, they are used in the surgical procedures also, they are used for the drug delivery as well as the lymph node mapping. Now, lymph node mapping is very important here because it leads to progression of the cancer if these remain untreated. Now, surgery is the most effective and widely used procedure in treating cancers. When surgeons remove a tumor, they take a buffer layer of healthy cells around it to ensure that the entire cancerous mass has been removed. A successful extraction will therefore yield a tumor that is completely encapsulated by healthy cells. The surgeon's challenge is to remove just enough healthy cells to ensure that all of the cancerous cells are gone, but in many cases, it is essential not to take more cells than absolutely necessary because of where the tumor is located in the body. They don't want to take too many extra healthy cells, especially when removing tumor from delicate areas like brain, or when they are also concerned about cosmetic effects and post-surgery side effects. So sometimes surgeons will be more conservative in the amount of cells they take. Like in case of breast cancer, a surgeon can go for a complete or partial mastectomy in which the breast is removed, but complete resection for malignant tumor often fails because of the high incidence of local recurrence. Now, this high incidence local recurrence is because of the lymph nodes as visible in the picture. Now, standard imaging techniques used for interoperative microscale imaging are not capable of intraoperative identification of individual or small cluster of residential tumor cells, hence precluding their selective removal while sparing the surrounding normal tissues. The recent advances in quantum dot technologies aid the surgeon to perform a complete surgical resection when conjugated with the targeting ligands such as monoclonal antibodies, peptides, or small molecules. These nanoparticles can be used to target malignant tumor cells and tumor microenvironments with high specificity and affinity. Their unique optical properties allow surgeons to delineate tumor margins, to identify residual tumor cells and micrometastases, and to determine whether the tumor has been completely removed. Now, in the image here, it is shown how fluorescent quantum dots can help in guiding the surgeons towards the residual tumor cell after the initial surgery. The red dots indicate the residual tumor cells after the surgery. Now, presently, the conventional types of cancer treatments which work by destroying the fast-growing cells, as already explained, but other types of fast-growing healthy cells are also destroyed along with the cancer cells, which cause adverse drug reactions or side effects. Now, photodynamic therapy is developed in the last century, and it has become an FDA-approved therapy for different malignancies and with the potential in other ailments such as coronary heart disease, AIDS, and psoriasis. Fluorescence resonance energy transfer, called as FRET, is a process in which energy is transferred from an excited donor to an acceptor via a resonant near-field dipole-dipole interaction. It is used conventionally with some dyes and is one of the most general techniques for imaging biologically interacting molecules in a cell. The problems of using conventional dyes for FRET include fast photo breaching and significant emission overlap between donor and acceptor. The long-term photostability and highly tunable emission of properties of quantum dots make them ideal donor species in FRET studies. Since its discovery in the early 1900s, photodynamic therapy has been developed from an emerging cancer treatment to an FDA-approved therapy for different malignancies, as already discussed. QDs can serve as energy donors to conventional photosensitizers through FRET or interact directly with molecular oxygen via energy transfer mechanisms to generate reactive oxygen species that can be exploited for photodynamic therapy. So here the figure is showing that how the FRET is converting a photosensitizer into a reactive oxygen species, and these reactive oxygen species target the cancer cells to kill the cells. Personalized medicine is a new field which is coming up in the medical science. The need for this field is that a single drug which is given for a single type of disease to a different patients may not act similarly in all the patients. So personalized medicine is a broad and rapidly advancing field of healthcare that is informed by each person's unique clinical, genetic, genomic, and environmental information. It is an emerging field of medicine promising to provide efficient tools against cancer and other challenging diseases. Theoretically, a cancer's unique molecular profile can be used to predict its invasive and metastatic potential, its ability to evade immune surveillance, and its potential response to treatment, making personalized and predictive medicines a reality. So this personalized medicines has given birth to a new branch. We call it pharmacogenomics, and a lot of work is being done on that. A lot of literature is also available on that. So this is the upcoming medicines. Now, different patients suffering from a disease may respond differently to a drug treatment. Now, as shown here, a drug given for a specific ailment to different persons elicit different responses. Some of the patients may respond to the normal dose of the drug and they may get cured. Some of the patients may lead lower dose. Some of the patients may need higher dose for, let's say, the same to get the same effect, and some of the patients may not respond to the drug at all and they may need alternative medications. Now, these differences in the patients for the same medication for the same disease are due to the different genetic makeups of the different patients. Now, for most effective treatment, the answer to different responses lie in customizing the medicine for each patient. Now, how to customize anti-cancer drug for each patient? For this is the procedure shown here, how the process is followed. We start with the isolation of T cells from the patient blood, and then these T cells are incubated with the magnetic beads which are covered with the proteins that make them grow. So the magnetic beads allow the growth of lymphocytes. Then these beads are injected into a virus for their growth. Now when they grow, they also generate the antigens. And these antigens and the cells are isolated from the viral cells and they are injected back into the human body. So these antigens then act as their defense mechanism. So here bioconjugated quantum dots have emerged as a new platform to quantify the cancer's unique molecular profile in intact cancer cell and tissue specimens. A great advantage of the quantum dot is that multicolor quantum dot probes can be used to image and track multiple molecular targets simultaneously, which represents a significant challenge for traditional imaging modalities. Quantum dots are playing both therapeutic and diagnostic roles in terms of multifunctional quantum dots. The advantage is attributed to their large surface area and versatility in surface chemistry, which allows simultaneous conjugation of the diagnostics as well as therapeutic ligands on their surface. Now, these multifunctional quantum dots have become an important tool for synchronous diagnosis, targeting, and treatment of cancer. So here it is an example of a multifunctional content dot, which is containing doxorubicin as well as an antibody on iron nanoparticle. Now, tissue engineering is an emerging field, and basically it is a tissue restructuring whose target is to restore the characteristics and functions of a damaged tissue. The present strategies available to achieve this target include use of transplants, mechanical devices, and surgical reconstructions. Despite the success of these strategies in saving the lives of countless patients, there are limitations associated with these strategies, such as organ rejection in transplants and long-term problems associated with the mechanical and surgical options. Tissue engineering is a new concept that has come up with an aim to create a three-dimensional functional tissue from cells, bioactive molecules, and scaffolds in the laboratory under controlled biological, biophysical, and biomechanical parameters. A careful combination of most appropriate scaffold, cell, and biomolecule would lead to generation of almost normal tissues or organ. So scaffold is a mechanical component, which is the most important part, whose target is to recreate an in vivo microenvironment, which is exactly similar to the extracellular matrix, where normal cell division, proliferation, and differentiation occurs in a living system. These scaffolds are designed to mimic the extracellular matrix in terms of providing porosity, chemical signaling motifs, and stiffness for mechanotransduction. It should also allow clearing the cell debris and degradation products similar to the functioning of macrophages in extracellular matrix and purification of the new cells. At the same time, the material of scaffold must not initiate or trigger any inflammatory or immunological actions. All these characteristics of a scaffold are possible to incorporate through nanotechnology. The polymeric materials, hydrogels, and cell functions such as attachment, proliferation, and differentiation. The polymeric materials, hydrogels, and composites are some of the materials used for construction of scaffolds. Graphene and carbon nanotubes have been widely applied as conductive materials to promote cell functions such as attachment, proliferation, and differentiation. Graphenes, due to their extraordinary strength, porosity, and flexibility, are excellent material for reconstruction of cardiac tissues, and recently, electrically conductive silicon nanowires are introduced as suitable nanomaterial candidates for cardiac tissue re-engineering. So here is shown the use of graphene to promote the growth of cardiomyocytes for repairing of cardiac tissues. And the carbon nanotubes are shown in the green to build the gaps between the cells. So here it is shown the application of conductive silicon nanowires. So there are two sets of figures. On the top, the cardiac spheroids are grown without any nanowires, and below the cardiac spheroids are grown with the help of nanowires. These nanowires being conductive, they cause the integration of cells, cardiac cells, to make a uniform spheroids. So as shown here, the electrically isolated small beating clusters with a random contractions are formed when the cardiac spheroids are grown without any nanowires, so they will not make a stable tissue, whereas electrically connected cells and electrically conductive microenvironments within the spheroids are generated when these are grown with the help of nanowires. So in summary, the available drug therapies for the treatment of multifactorial disease, that's cancer, cannot distinguish clearly between a normal cell and a cancer cell. So these drugs destroy both cancer cells and normal cells, and this lead to many side effects like cytotoxicity or others, as we have already discussed. Now the nanomaterials have come to the rescue of these side effects, and they have come as advanced tools to overcome the problems associated with specifically targeting the cancer cells. These are assisting surgery as well as the delivery of the drug at the specific sites to minimize the side effects. The different types of nanomaterials which we have discussed so far in the management of cancer, there are usually gold nanoparticles, silver nanoparticles, there are magnetic superoxide magnetic nanoparticles, there are also quantum dots, and personalized medicines are also being used for the efficient treatment of cancer.